It's a little 7:30 a.m. garden stroll. It's a little overcast today, which is nice. Every now and then it's good to be a little cooler. Everything's looking amazing here. It's June 4th. Those are onions. It's a little basil, getting a late start. There's cucumbers, beets, radishes. There's calendula, some beans, some baby's breath in the front here. There's sunflowers, some calendula that I planted later. I like to succession. There's maybe. Hi, Bubs. There's some Mexican sunflower. I've never grown those before. Those should be interesting. I'm very excited. I just transplanted a few cucumbers back there because I did too many. Radishes, that's lettuce seed in that little one. I've already been eating lettuce for a month. I love my own lettuce. These are butternuts for the dog food. Started this whole experiment. There's some more butternuts in the front of here, and then those are kabochas, which I've never grown. They're a soft skin melon or squash. When I cook the squash for dog food, I like to leave the skin on because A, I'm lazy, and B, it's got a lot of nutrition in it. So this bed's got cosmos, calendula, some zinnias. We'll see what comes up. It's kind of packed, and those are two giant pumpkins back there. So we'll see what those do. Those are going to require quite a bit of water. And I am on city water, but it's still worth spending the extra dollars in the summer for my garden. And over here, my first year using grow bags. I've got 2 tomatoes in this one. These are cherries. A little bit spindly. Got a late start. These are San Marzanos. There's 3 of these, and they look really good. Little basil in there. Had to chop it. It was getting all spindly. I struggled with basil this year, which seems odd. Should be easy to grow. One of my containers, there's calendula, baby's breath, some creeping Jenny. This is a repeat. There were tulips in there. I think I'm going to move these pots. Not sure yet where they're going to go. And this is my greenhouse. This is my $350 Harbor Freight special. Powerhouse. This thing is a powerhouse. This thing was packed with seedlings at the beginning of the year. These are peppers. I have 8 different kinds of peppers. Little white sage. The last of my geraniums. It's just not really doing great. My coleus experiment. Some echinaceas. Some mint back here. Eggplants. More tomatoes that got a late start. Some yarrow. Some Thai basil. Don't know if that's going to make it. More yarrow. Got some mint, some lupine just starting to peek out. Lovage, horehound, mint. Don't know what that is, but it looked like a nice seedling, so I'm going to see what it does. I pulled it out of one of the beds. More coleus. Those are starting to come along. I had a little failed drainage issue with those, so they got stunted. And then some of my succulents up here in the nursery. Some extra pots, some slug killer, which I almost never use, but I have really bad slugs here. It's the Pacific Northwest. Some sage at the end stage of its blooming. It's already covered in bees. This is some lemon balm. There's a peony stuck back in there that I need to probably get out because it kind of competes with that. Here's some peas. They look really good. They're starting to come on. Some geraniums, kale. I harvested a ton of this kale yesterday. This is interesting. There's a mushroom down in here. I think it's because I got some of this wood off the back of some of this dirt off the back of my property in the forested area. I kind of use that as the filler in the bottom. So some of my beds have big crops of mushrooms in them. Here's onions, some of the onions, and some spinach. a calendula, more peas, some big beautiful dill. Volunteer. He planted dill in here the first year I gardened, and dill comes back every year. Here's some more onions, some spinach, and a Thai basil, and some more kale that I harvested a ton of yesterday. And this is like my little outside nursery. These are all my white sages, which are super hard to germinate, but I got quite a few this year. And basil, chives, lavender, Russian sage, a ton more baby lavenders. I love lavender, so I grow a lot of lavender every year. Give a lot away and try to find space for it. Here's some zucchini with some lettuce seedlings starting to come up, and some older lettuce. And here's some even older lettuce. A few onions popped in here, and some really nice lettuce that I'll probably start harvesting next week. And then this bed is kind of a mishmash. There's some beans along the side, a bunch of calendula, some hollyhocks that reseeded themselves, some dill that reseeded itself. Not too of a productive bed. This is my first year growing beans, which seems weird because they're such an easy thing to grow and everybody grows them. And yeah, I planted these seeds in April. They're like 4 inches tall. So I don't know if they need a certain temperature to thrive, and they just didn't reach that until later. Here's some more beans. These are a little bigger. Spinach. I already harvested a whole bunch of spinach once this year, so this is kind of my second batch. Some more dill that reseeded, and this is my garlic. I've got several different varieties in here. I got 75 cloves I planted. So this is the other garlic bed. They look really good this year. Really good. Garlic is so easy to grow, and it's so satisfying because it's so easy, and it's one of my favorite things. I put it in everything. This bed's got some lettuce seed over here and some of my coriander, cilantro, which I've been harvesting off of for months. We eat a lot of tacos. And this was just a little baby's breath, some lobelia I started from seed. I start everything from seed. Sunflower. I can't afford to buy plants at the store. So I would spend all of my budget on a couple of containers for the year. So I just spend that budget on seeds. And that's the sage that I started from seed in there. That's looking really good. You can see some of the spinach I left in here is bolting. I packed my bed, so this had the garlic that I planted last October. Then I did a batch of spinach this spring. There's some lobelia, the sage, some nasturtiums over here peeking out, and some more lobelia. And then spinach, I'm going to see if I can get some seeds, save some seeds from the spinach this year. We'll see how that goes. And this container is just like the one on the other end. Here's some Shasta daisies I need to replant, just hanging out here. I pulled them out of my herb bed. Here's another container with some calendula, lobelia, baby's breath, and a sunflower. Peas, lots of peas. They're awesome. I'm letting these get a little bigger. I think I'll be able to harvest enough off of all my plants to get a meal in the next few days. This container, there's a sad little clematis back there. He hates it in this pot. I gotta move him. And some various odds and ends. There's like a wormwood right there that's reseeded itself. And over here we have Baxter. I've had him for about 25 years. He's been outside. He's starting to get a little worn. He was in front of the house. I just moved him back here this year. This is my herb bed. That's a gift from my sister, which I love. So this is herb bed, and I love this bed. It's gorgeous. It's got oregano, marjoram, lavender, sage. There's a bunch of rose campion back there that I use this bed as a nursery for it, and it's overtaken it, duh. It's gorgeous though. I'm gonna let it bloom and dig it out this fall. Mint, which is taking over, bad idea. Thyme, which is going to, it's starting to flower, but I've been picking it all summer. I have pints and pints of dried thyme in the house, as well as the oregano and marjoram. Those are my three favorite herbs that I put in just about everything. This is a little Creeping Jenny nursery. I'm trying to sprout those so I can put them in some other pots. It takes over, but I love it because it keeps the weeds down and it's pretty easy to pull out. So, but it'll always be in this bed. It's just one of those things you're going to deal with forever, but I'm fine with it. More time. There's a reseeded calendula down in there. Another lavender. My other sissy made me that big leaf out of a rhubarb leaf, I think. It's amazing. It's gorgeous. Another gorgeous sage here. Got this borage that reseeds itself every year in this little tire. And this borage is a volunteer, kind of must have blown over here in the wind, the seed, and it's just thriving. It's beautiful. Some celery experiment. I got some free seeds for buying a massive amount of seeds, and I've never grown celery, so we'll see. That's some volunteer cilantro. I had a patch of onions in here, but they are not doing good. So I reseeded over the top with some salad, some lettuce, so we'll see how that goes. And this is all lettuce in here. I kind of scatter, if you can tell. I do the scatter method. And I'll thin it or not, depending. Big batch of nasturtiums. Some more rose campion and some cat's pajamas nepeta in this tire. I just cut it back, it'll reflush. Some geraniums I started from seed. Here's another pot. Zinnia's just starting to open. Calendula alyssum, which is starting to bloom. There's one purple bloom there that'll, hopefully it's getting enough sun on me. I have to move some stuff around. More peas, the lettuce, and then this bed, well, these containers, more the same. Zinnias, calendula, alyssum. There's a Mexican sunflower, and then the same in that pot. These are 3 pots here. And this is another type of kale, which I harvested a ton off yesterday. Some geraniums. There's a bunch of carrots in there, but we'll see. I think they might be crowded out. They're starting to grow. And there's a wormwood in here that's volunteered. A whole bunch of lettuce that I need to get out of there because it's getting to the end and I need to just clear it out and start some new lettuce in there. I'm trying to, this experiment, I left 3 onions in here from last year and I'm trying to get seeds, so we'll see. It'd be awesome to have my own onion seeds. I'm a seed saver. I love to save seeds from stuff I've grown. I don't have to buy this. I bought calendula, 1 package of calendula seeds 3 years ago, and I've never bought another package of calendula. The orange button, they make a ton of seed. Here's some beets. More lettuce in here. I put some more seeds in this area. I try to stagger so I have lettuce all summer. This bed is weird. Okay, everything in here, except for the nasturtiums, those little 3 things up there, those onions on the edge, and this parsley. Everything else in here is volunteer. This is dill, which is crazy. There's a ton of it. And the cilantro is voluntary. Parsley I use a lot of in my dog food. And parsley is very slow to germinate, but it's a 2-year crop. So I will harvest off this probably 4 or 5 times this year. Leave it in the ground over winter and it'll flush out in the spring, and I'll harvest again next year, and then I'll have to start over. This is my wormwood. It's an herb, it's gorgeous. There's some campion in here starting to bloom. More nasturtiums from seed. This is my Roman chamomile. It'll fill up this whole entire cage. And these are old race car tires. They make pretty good containers. I don't usually grow food in them. I have grown tomatoes in them in the past, and they get hot. So the soil is hot, and tomatoes like that. Here's one of the low beds. I just put these beds in this year. And here's more. This is my main onion bed. They're looking good. I started all these from seed. Here's cucumbers, beets, fighting ravens and crows in the sky. So this is the rest of the beds you already saw. This is radishes. There's lettuce seed in here. It's going really slow. It was kind of old seed, so we'll see. And then those are the rest of the squash beds. And that was an experiment this year for the dog food. That's what started my whole garden journey. I make my own dog food. Food prices doubled or tripled in some cases. I inherited a couple dogs when my father-in-law passed away, and dog food became almost unattainable to make because it's so expensive. So I started growing squash, parsley, spinach, and kale. And then I use rice as a filler and some whatever game meat that we have, either fish, deer, elk. And if we don't have that, I use beef hearts and chicken hearts from the grocery store. And then we use deer. We cut up the carcass of the deer too and feed that to the dogs because dogs like bones. So it's what started the whole gardening thing. Was I thought, well, I can just grow squash and parsley and kale and spinach and not have to buy it. And then 700 other things followed, which is the case usually for gardeners. Got this little greenhouse. My husband put that up for me because he's amazing. It's just a cheap one, but it is a workhorse. So that's the first garden tour, June 3rd or 4th. Here's a view of the rest of the garden. Those are my goats back in there. That's a green thing is the goat shed. I have 2 goats. I used to have 4. I'm down to 2. They keep this whole area free of blackberries for me, which is why I got them in the first place. There were blackberries growing all the way up to the house in 2011, so it was pretty messy back here. All right, this is the back of the property. This is a blackberry patch. We clear this every few years, and then it takes a couple years for this many blackberries to grow again. It's almost out of, it totally is out of control. It's hard to keep up on it because there's so many other things going on. But there's a bunch of tractor implements back here. You can't even see, some fencing. It's a mess back here, but I just try not to look. I want to do the fun stuff, not the hard work. So hence, it looks like that back there. All right, thanks for watching. I'll have more information to come, and I'll do another update in a couple weeks or so. Happy gardening.